and they sort of thought that I was proud, so
Mm.
they would, so
They misread it. They misread your
they
with
misread it. Yeah,
yeah,
they misread it. They misread it
yeah.
for pride, and that worried me a bit because I thought I'm not a proud person, but
Mm.
I just couldn't face them. I couldn't face them because I thought, right, they're obviously smarter than I am,
Mm.
book wise. Let's put it that way, or academic wise. So they
Yeah,
were they were
yeah.
they were better at things like maths, for instance, and I was rubbish at maths. So I would rather not participate in maths exercises
Yeah.
unless it was a test that contributed to your moving forward from one class to the other, or passing your exams. And so
Mm.
that was one thing that I just thought, oof, I don't want to let my vulnerable side, is that the right word,
Yeah,
show.
you don't want to show. Yeah, you don't want that
I
to
don't want
show.
I don't want to show. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
want that to show. So that came across as being proud, and
Mm.
at one point I had the girls, and the girls, girls would gossip anyway. I'm not saying all girls gossip, but these girls gossiped, and they would be like, "Oh, have you heard what the girls are saying about you?" I'm like, "No." They're saying that you're snobbish, you think you're better than everybody else. I'm like, no, 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 no. I think they're better than me. And
I mean, what that brings up, just to sort of chip in there, what
yeah,
what
yeah,
what that brings up is in life generally. It
all right,
probably highlights what you just said is how misreadings, misunderstandings occur between people because
yeah,
sometimes I think nervousness, vulnerability, shyness can be, as you illustrated, can be read by others as being a bit standoffish, a bit
kind of,
disinterested. So
yeah,
yeah, it's an interesting point that it's not something we can always consider in terms of how do I come across to other people, because in a way you could say it's none of our business, none of my business how I come across to other people. That's their business. But
yeah,
obviously most of us, all of us, don't really want to come across in a way of perhaps being unfriendly or antisocial, but maybe nervousness, shyness can give that impression. So I guess that is a possibility. And it brings me on to my next question. What do
right.
you think, or could you name a weakness you think you have? A weakness, personality wise, or in any aspects? Do you think you have a weakness?
Do I think I have a weakness? I think every man has a weakness. I think every living human, regardless of the sexual orientation, have has got a flaw or a weakness, as we call it. Yeah, so I do think I do consider myself as having a weakness, and they say if you know your weakness, then it's no longer your weakness. Then is that's what they say anyway. They say, well, if you can recognize your weaknesses, then it's no longer weaknesses. That's what they say anyway. But yeah, but I do have weaknesses, and my weakness is that um, can can someone be overly persistent? Could you be overly persistent? Could that be a weakness? I mean, they say persistence is good. Persistence is good,
Yeah.
but could could being overly persistent, could it be classed as a weakness? So I would take a certain project, and I would latch on to it,
Yeah.
and I would devote more than the usual attention to it to make sure that it doesn't fail, even
Mm.
when even when other aspects or other areas of a certain project is lacking or being not being given so much of an attention. And I do consider that as a weakness because you're supposed to be able to count your losses and think, this is not working,
Mm.
that's not working, and just move on to, something else. And I think that's what successful people do. And I could be wrong here, or I could be right. I don't know. I suppose it depends on time tells, doesn't it? But I think successful people would look at a project and they would go, right, that's not viable, right? And they might not even go into it. They might just look at certain things and just think, right, that's not working, and they'll move on to something else. Now, I'm not like that. I'll look at something and I'll go, why is it not
Mm.
working? What can be done to make it work? And I would work around that project and get it going. But then it takes a chunk of your time.
Yeah.
And I consider that a weakness.
Yeah, maybe sometimes we need to, well, from what you're saying, sometimes there comes a point where you've got to say, no, I don't think it's going to work. And you cut your losses. You say, no, move on to something else. I think that's what you're saying. So I
Yeah.
see why you think that could be a weakness because you're sort of almost, it's the expression, flogging a dead horse, perhaps.
Mm.
Clearly, if it's something you persist at and it ultimately works, then I don't think you consider that a weakness. So tell me what you think a particular strength of yours is.
Ah, right. That's I think oh, I would say my strength is being able to see things to completion. I would
Yeah.
say is a, I would say is a strength. I would take I would take whatever it is and see it through. I would make sure